This past week has seen so much turmoil and strident conflict in our nation that, like many of you, I was shocked and began alternating between being overwhelmed by anger one moment and sadness the next. I really didn't want to put any of my thoughts either on paper or in public, as I'm doing right now through this video, until such time as I could be more centered, more calm, if that were even possible. I failed in that attempt, I really did, but I really couldn't wait any longer to say something. Recently, the first reading in the daily celebration of the Mass came from the second letter of St. Peter. He spoke about waiting for and even hastening the arrival of, as it said in that scripture, the day of God. He spoke of our waiting for, and I'll quote, it's from chapter 3, a new heavens and a new earth in which righteousness dwells. The Spanish translation of those last few words from that quote make it even clearer as they proclaim, en que habite la justicia. This literally foretells a place where justice dwells. As Catholic Christians, we certainly do not subscribe to some kind of heaven on earth. I'll leave that to the socialists. We are obligated, however, to hasten along the kingdom just the same, especially when some people are creating a kind of hell on earth for themselves and for others, and that is possible. We are obligated to do justice to the best of our ability. St. Peter, in that same chapter, offers a suggestion for doing just that. It involves personal responsibility and deep examination of one's conscience. In a word, it involves leaving sin behind, as we read, and again I'll quote from that chapter, "Therefore, beloved, since you await these things, be eager to be found without spot or blemish before Him, at peace." If we are honest with ourselves, we must acknowledge that as a nation, as a people, and as individuals, we have not always certainly been found without spot or blemish, as St. Peter encourages us to do. If there is one drop of selfishness coursing through our heart, coursing through our veins, if there is one drop of prejudice, of racism, then we have to look in the mirror, acknowledge it, and begin to deal with it. How we do that remains to be seen, remains to be fleshed out in our lives and in our communities. But to avoid doing so will set us on a course of repeating some very sad history. Around the year 1865, our terrible Civil War was winding down at the cost of nearly 400,000 soldiers, and that was just on the Union side alone. Among the dead could be counted 40,000 black soldiers. At that time, the great abolitionist, Frederick Douglass, touched upon the real reason for such sacrifice when he wrote, and I will quote, "The conditions of human associations are founded upon character rather than color. And since character depends on mind and morals, there can be nothing blameworthy in people thus equal meeting each other on the plane of civil and social rights." End of the quote. But fast forward, in a sense, to a very hot August day, back in 1963, with a huge crowd gathered in Washington, D.C. The words of Frederick Douglass were echoed on that day by Dr. Martin Luther King, a day in which the nation did gather, a large portion of it, in front of the Lincoln Memorial. And he said, and we've heard this so many times, "I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character." The fact that Martin Luther King needed to say something so similar to the words of Frederick Douglass after nearly 100 years clearly indicates that even then we had a very long way to go. I believe in my heart of hearts that we have indeed come a long way since. I'm willing to admit that that might be wishful thinking on my part, might be naivete on my part. But what is clear to me is that during these past few days, we've been painfully reminded that yes, we still have a long way to go. What happened to George Floyd over a week ago was terrible, tragic. It cries out for justice. It is clearly a wake-up call for all of us, and will hopefully inspire us to be better and to do better. Notice I did not say anything about feeling better. In fact, what lies ahead of us is not going to feel good at all. Besides, personally, I've seen enough feelings on the streets of America this week to last a lifetime. No, we will get to work and engage in the often messy process of really listening to each other, of not demonizing the other, whoever they may be, and of responding to, as my favorite president, Abraham Lincoln, once said, the better angels of our nature. God bless you and those you love, always and in every way.